Well, Sean, let's jump in here. So, what is one thing you would tell your younger self, knowing what you know now about addiction?
I don't know if there's anything I would tell myself because all my experiences have led me up to this point. But if there's anything I wish I was back then, is I wish I was teachable, like more teachable and not so hard headed about things. Um, really pertaining to like, well, you know what I'm saying? Like just listening, just shut up and listen.
Actively listening.
Yeah, you
Being
know what I mean?
quiet and
Just
listening.
sit down and listen to people instead of having my own way and being stuck in my own way, right? Because now I listen to just about everybody's bits and pieces, and diversifying my recovery is what made my recovery, you know. And when I try to do things on my own, it just always failed. So today I ask a lot of questions and I keep my mouth shut and listen to the answers. And I take what I can apply to my life and I just leave the rest alone. So, I mean, that's kind of.
So
There was
if,
one thing I wish I was more teachable when I was younger.
sure. Well, and since you feel that way, what do you weren't teachable then? Do you believe that if you went back and told your younger self the path out of addiction, would your younger self even listen to you?
Nope.
But why do you think that is?
Oh, there's a lot of things you have to learn. You know what I'm saying? And I think one of those things is like I had a lot of trauma as a kid with my family. And so if I would have sat there and told myself like, "Hey, go hang out with your dad or your evil stepmom," that wouldn't have happened. Right? He would have been like, "F you." You know what I'm saying? Like straight up. You know what I mean? Like and I was so willing to crash because I didn't want to be in certain situations that I created more problems for myself as I went. But it was just I was terrible at avoiding things. Like, and even when it came to family, friends, anybody who tried to where I felt like I was being manipulated, I actively avoided those
Well,
situations.
so how did that differ from the addiction community? Because I know, like, my next question for you was going to be, have you felt alone even when surrounded by others? That was kind of the next question I had for you. But you avoided conflict with your family, but how did you do that, or was it the same with surrounded by other users? Like in like example was be like when you died, right?
So, so addiction's kind of a funny thing, right? And I've never been kind of a stupid person, so I always looked at my environments and my situations for what they were.
Right.
Right. So when I walked into a room and I sat down with a bunch of people, or I walked into the trap house, or I went to go talk to my plug, right? I know the focus is on drugs. It's not on me. It's not about what's going on in my life. That's going to come first and foremost, and that's with everybody who's in addiction. So I always kind of knew that in the back of my mind, and so I always expected, you know, something to come out of left field or things not to be as straight up as they were. But typically in the addiction world, man, with that mindset, everybody's pretty much straight up. If you can carry that mindset into your addiction, there's not a lot of I mean, there is some deceitfulness, but you expect it. Right? So as long as you're expecting those things, like it's pretty straight up.
Right. You can't be disappointed if you
Yeah,
know.
like you know, it's like, bro, don't get caught slipping.
Yeah.
If you get caught slipping, expect to get took. You know, but as long as you carry that motto into all your agendas and all your things, like it was really hard to be mad. Like I had really good friends in addiction that I would hang out with, and don't get me wrong, we would get each other, and we would get each other bad. To where sometimes you're like, bro, I can't believe he got me like that. He's supposed to be my homeboy, but then an hour later, I'm sitting there, I'm like, yeah, I can.
Yeah.
I can believe it.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like that. Well, it's kind of like that here, right? In your recovery, some of the things we say to each other,
Yeah.
because you're surrounded now by a group of guys that actually care about you, and want to see you be successful. And so it's similar in that we joke around and we say a lot of inappropriate things.
Yeah.
But if there was one inappropriate thing that sets you back into that mindset of being successful, then we're successful, right? So sometimes we'll use when you're late or when one of us is late, we'll use that to razz each other. But that's just fuel for being better.
Yeah.
Being timely, timeliness is an important thing. Even as a druggie, you knew you had to have a hit by this time.
Well, I mean, and yeah. So like I said, drugs came first. So first thing in the morning, that's all that was on my mind, right? I was a heroin user. So first thing in the morning is worst time of the day because you've had that 8 to 12 hours of sleep. The drugs had time to wear off. So when you wake up, you're in a lot of pain, throwing up, sick. And so that's the first thing. First things first, before anything and everything, don't care what it is, I got to get my fix. However that lays out. And then you can kind of lay out your day. But first thing in the morning is use. And last thing of the day is get what I need so I don't get sick the next morning. So however that lays out. So it could be a really early night depending on if I get what I need, or it could be a very late night.
Right.
You know what I mean? Till I can get it. But typically people are upfront. You just got to recognize the status quo of things.
So for somebody that's just starting out recovery, say they're 3 weeks into a program, or 3 weeks into a halfway house.
Okay.
How would that change for them? So they're no longer. They're usually about 3 weeks. They're breaking that. I've got to get up and get high. Sometimes it's longer. It depends on how long they were users, and all these things vary, right? But what would you say to somebody in 3 weeks or 4 weeks into their recovery about that? Because that became your habit, and you have to establish new habits that are healthier. Now, granted, we don't always do that, right?
Well, I mean, I think the moral of the story, and this is kind of where I lean away from willingness, because we want the addict to be willing to do things, but man, it really comes down to if that environment is conducive, right? So, me particularly, like it took a very long time for me to heal, and I had to be in an environment where that could be the focus. So when people come into treatment centers, I usually tell them like, bro, no major decisions, none. Don't make any life-changing decisions for 8 weeks, 8 to 10 weeks. Sit down and do nothing as much as possible because you're having anxiety fits, your body's changing, your brain's trying to stabilize.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's and then I mean you typically see people abandon it when they can't stabilize that anxiety. You know.
And so I'll go back to the question I had. Have you ever felt lonely in a room full of people?
Oh yeah.
We all have, right?
I still get that way around my family a lot. Like holidays and things because I spent so much time separated from them.
Right.
And I have that prison background. I have street background. All I know is really a bunch of awful things.
Right.
And so when you show up to these family events and things like that, those aren't things I want to talk to my parents about or my brothers and sisters or my nephews and nieces. You know what I mean? Like those aren't conversations I want to bring up.
You'll notice that as outside of the podcast, we don't ask you a lot of those.
Yeah.
Because we learned from our traumas outside of drug use and through other addictions and just other bad habits, and then seeing some of the things that we've seen collectively.
Right.
That doesn't make you who you are today. So
no.
Family and even in recovery, this is where I was really leading you, is in recovery. Talk about give people an idea of what to expect when they go into recovery because so many different recovery programs and houses are different. You've touched on this before briefly, but I want to dive deeper because you were kind of going that way and then you jutted off to family. And they do go hand in hand because you need those support groups, but they're different. It's like we're different than your family's different than recovery. Kind of level set us on what someone can expect because that's the burning question. If I'm in addiction right now, what can I expect going into recovery? Give me the
Well,
first
so
three
let
or
me
four
just
things.
thought from my life experience,
Sure.
right? So I was in addiction for 25 years, right? And my life entailed everything that comes with that addiction. A very street life. It came with prison. Came getting in a lot of trouble, um, and doing a lot of things that I'm not proud of in my past life. So when I came into recovery, I didn't know what a normal life was. I honestly and truly didn't. Like you see people, but it's that I've never lived a normal life. I've been on drugs since I was 12 years old. If not younger than that. I think fifth grade was the first time I hit a joint. So, uh, having that absence of the drug and trying to fill my that void that it created when you come into recovery, right? It's a huge void. It's a massive void, and dealing with that is probably one of the hardest things, right? Is to come into recovery and go, what do I do now? Because I don't know. Like I never bought a car, never paid for a home, never, you know what I'm saying? Like these are things I never did. I always relied on street credit. You know what I'm saying? Like street credit got me through life. So when it came to living a normal life, it was like I had no idea what to do. All I knew was that I had to work on me. And when I came into recovery, honestly and truthfully, it was not to get sober. Like, and that's just the dead honest truth,
Well, but
right?
that's for you, right?
Right.
And so you touched on this in the last time we spoke that you thought you were going to die.
Did. I did.
And so that changed your mindset, but at the same time, you still now in recovery have those little voids in your life. What's the difference between filling that with a substance and how do you cope with those voids now?
It is for me, it's progress. So when we come into recovery, we're looking at all this negative trauma, experiences, situations, things we've been through, right, in life. And we're going, how can I get over that? And it's overwhelming. It's ridiculous overwhelming. Not to mention you're going through physical pains as well. So, what I had to do, bro, and I literally took I took a whole year off, man, and I just did a lot of self reflecting and treatment, and just decided that I was just going to simply work on me from that point on, and just everything else had to hit the bricks. And man, it was tough. And what I realized, you just have to fill your life up with good stuff. You have to take, and doesn't have to be. You set small goals and you just start knocking them out, right? So from when I went to college, that created a safe space for me outside of treatment, where I could go be in a community of people trying to learn, right? I went to meetings, ridiculous amount of meetings. I've done tons and tons of meetings, but I mean, I've read literature. You know what I mean? I've done a lot of work on me to create this understanding of today of what I have of recovery, which is kind of different than a lot of people.
So one of the things that we talk about here, in kind of, we've become kind of a support group for you in a way.
Yeah,
One of the things we talk about is you have to do the work,
absolutely.
and
All things start with self.
there's no freaking shortcuts, man.
And I think that's one thing that we don't focus on enough, right? Because we tend to look at all of our problems externally. This person did that to me. This situation did this to me, and I can't get over it. But like all things are in me. So in the situations that I went through, I have to recognize the role I played in those things, whether it was good or bad, right? And that sometimes people get really offended when you go, "What role did you play in this?" When they got extremely hurt.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Well, what
Oh
role
yeah.
did you play in this? And they're like, "What do you mean? I didn't play no role. I'm the one that got attacked." And it's like, well, let's look at this. And so it's hard to get people to shift that perspective to start seeing where we make mistakes
Well,
and how we can learn from them.
and ultimately, is that going from a victim mindset to a I'm in control of my own destiny mindset?
Uh,
Because everybody wants to be a victim at some point in time. No matter what we
well,
do, we all want to be a
I think
victim.
society gears us that way.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like we have a very like fear-based mentality of how we view the world. Like almost every response is made out of fear in some form or fashion. Uh, what I try to teach people is not to like ignore your feelings and your thoughts, but how do we look at these things objectively, right? How can I take all the emotion out of what I'm feeling so that way I can look at it and figure out the answers to it, if that
So,
makes any sense.
so have you ever heard the term fear is an acronym that stands for false evidence appearing real?
Yeah.
Right. A lot of people talk about that when it comes to ghosts and things like
Right.
that, right? When you say that most responses come out of fear, what makes you think that? And I'm getting very specific because fear is only one of a rainbow of emotions or a array of emotions. So I hear you say this quite frequently, and that's why I'm dialing it
Well,
in
so
on what fear
fear,
means to you.
so fear to me, fear, like if you look it up, right? Fear is the master emotion, right? Because it can control and manipulate all other emotions and behaviors that we have, right? So it can take something we know we should not do, but we will absolutely do it because that fear overwhelms us, right? Things that even fear controls everything. It can take something good and make it bad. It can keep a person from pushing towards success. It can keep a person, you know what I'm saying, bent down, beat up. You know what I'm saying? So it can manipulate how we move through life. And when we're talking about overcoming addiction, bro, a lot of that is just simply overcoming fear,
Right.
right?
So
Not submitting to it, but actually overcoming it.
in the entrepreneurial world, a lot of people fail because they're afraid of the success. But that fear of the success ultimately comes from the fear of doing the work.
Man, there's a lot of
There's no
work.
shortcuts, bro.
There's a lot of work.
There's a lot of work, and that's the thing, right? So there's a lot of work to be an addict.
Yeah.
I've listened to some of your stories and living in addiction for as long as you did. I think that's the most astounding piece to me is sometimes you worked harder to stay in addiction than you did ever to get out in certain aspects. I mean, your physical, and this is another reason why I love some of your guests you've had through here. So, like Tyler, let's go back to Tyler real
Yeah.
quick. Where I'm going with this is you and Tyler both have physical injuries that led to abusing substances for
Right.
relief, right? And so you look at that, that doesn't change. You still have that physical ailment. You
Yeah.
still have that
Yeah.
busted up leg, that busted up ankle. You guys still suffer daily,
Yeah.
but now it's different. Your mindset shifted. That doesn't drive anything. There's no fear there of that injury. You've accepted that injury
Yeah.
and it doesn't define you. Right. And so that I think is the hope that I see in you showing other people is there's a hope there that regardless of your physical presence,
Right.
there is hope and you can work through that to recovery.
Right.
You can overcome anything to hit recovery.
And you really can. It's like you said, shifting that mindset. It's not letting it beat me. And I can sit there and go through many times where I've let shit just rock me. You know what I mean? And tear me to the floor. And for one, we'll use my crane accident in 2014. I was crushed by a crane down in Odessa working in the oil field. My legs were pretty much annihilated. My left foot was pretty much ripped off, and my back was broke. Um, I lost all self confidence. I was 30 years old when that happened. So go from having legs all your life to just all of a sudden not having legs.
Yeah.
Floored me. And I think the worst time during that time was when my son had walked into the room with his soccer ball. He was about 3 years old. And he was like, "Dad, come outside and kick the soccer ball with me." And I couldn't do it. And I just got pissed.
Yeah.
Like, it just made me so mad because life switches up and you don't know how to take it. And then, fast forward it and mental traumas that came with that beat me down real bad. So
So I know I've asked you in a couple different ways the same question, what is one thing that you do every day to stay on track in recovery? Because I know today's show is really about living with addiction, but it also goes hand in hand with what you do every day now to stay in recovery. Just one thing.
Man, to keep it simple, I set a list of goals every day, right? And I have like my coping mechanisms. So one of my coping mechanisms, and you can laugh if you want, but it's cleaning my house. When my anxiety picks up, I start cleaning. All of a sudden, my wife loves it, because she ain't got to clean. Because I pretty much clean the house. I do the laundry, I wash the dishes, sweep and mop the floors. I do all that.
Well, and one of your wife's love languages is acts of service, so
Yeah,
that fits in great, right?
yeah. So she loves it when I have anxiety fits because the house gets clean. But I just make sure I take forward progress every day. Days I don't do anything are the days I start feeling real conflicted with myself.
So we talked about fear. One of your favorite things to talk about is love.
Yes, yes.
What what if in your addiction someone had shown you unconditional love? How would that have impacted your addiction?
You know, I don't know how it impacted it, but I can tell you the lack of love where I was seeking it throughout my life and didn't get what I was looking for pushed my addiction further.
Yeah.
Right? And so when I got married to Sammy, that all changed. Like
She's your ride or die.
man, I'll tell you what, bro, like
She scares me when she's mad at me.
she showed me something and it opened my eyes to a lot of things, right? When I was down and out and really in a bad space in my head where I hated myself and I truly hated myself and I was trying to destroy not just my life, but I was trying to destroy my image. I was literally trying to just break me all the way down and give up, right? Um, Everyone told her to walk away. Everyone told her he's never going to change. He's going to be like this. He's just going to self destruct and blow up. And she refused to give up. And to this day, refuses to give up, right? And when she did what she did for me, um, man, that changed everything. That changed everything. And it was really quick. Like, you want to talk about 3 years I was in recovery to one pivotal moment where it seemed like everything clicked. And that was that when I realized that unconditional love concept that she showed me. Because honestly, like, and this is just being truthful, she should have walked away. I wasn't necessarily good to her. I wasn't a good boyfriend. I was an asshole. I was selfish. I was, of course, on drugs. Like,
Well, aside from the drugs, you're still all those things, but we still like you. And I mean,
try not to be as
well,
selfish.
so I'm gonna throw a curveball at you because I don't think you can have that level of love without a spirit of forgiveness, and Sammy has that.
So, and it's funny that you say that because, right? Okay, so let's just call bygones bygones. So when I was in jail, I had to come up to a decision. Um, somebody did me really wrong, and I was super bitter. Like, I was mad, bad. And I knew that if I had somehow gotten out of jail feeling the way that I was feeling, it wasn't gonna stop. Like, it was just gonna amplify, turn into a whole lot of rage, and I'm gonna start self-destructing and blow up like a bomb again, right? And so I literally asked God, man. I said, man, how do I keep going from this? How do I release this bitterness inside of me? And it was kind of funny what happened after that because God just kind of revealed my whole life to me, and He was like, "Remember when I forgave you for that, and forgave you for that, and forgave you for that, and forgave you for that?" You know what I mean? And I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
thanks for that.
yeah,
Thanks for that. I appreciate that.
appreciate that."
Yeah.
And
I'm grateful
so
for that forgiveness, but
yeah.
it absolutely is hard to do that.
Well, and then of course when Sammy got me out of jail, and I saw the forgiveness in her, right when I didn't deserve it, and it made me really think that if my wife and God can forgive me for all the trash that I've put into the world, which is a lot, it is a lot. then I should be able to forgive every person, no matter what they've done to me. And
Even
I've
even when you don't want to, you
even
do it
when I don't
anyway.
want to, and I genuinely don't want to, but I did, and I have. You know what I mean? And I've moved on from it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I pulled it off the shelf a couple times and complained and did the
Well,
whole
but that's
poor and pity
also
me thing. But
that's also a coping mechanism because that was traumatic.
it was.
And so there's a big difference between pulling it off the shelf and holding on to it and eating it again, right? It's
Yeah.
like a dog always returns to its vomit. I know your watchers don't really want to hear that, but
Same
that is
thing. No,
true,
it's the same
right?
thing, right? Yeah.
But it's that forgiveness and the examples you have in your life of that forgiveness are traumatically different than what you had when you were in addiction.
Right.
Like
Well, because typically in addiction, like I have a traumatic experience and I go left, right?
yeah.
Or I take off, like I go the opposite direction. So in this particular situation, I was trying to help somebody and wasn't in a good space in my head to help somebody, honestly and truthfully. So that didn't turn out well.
Yeah.
So when I came to God and was like, how do I not get bitter about this and go left again? Right. So part of that forgiveness was to continue doing what I was doing because I knew I wanted to help, right? I knew I wanted to be of service. So, and I didn't want to stop doing that. But this situation kind of messed me up in the head. So
But you've learned to set boundaries.
I did. I did.
And that I think is the key.
Yeah.
But
If you,
it's also the key for love because Sammy's a great example. Like and I'm using your wife because I've had the pleasure of getting to know her a little bit
yeah.
over the last 8 or 9 months that I've known you,
Yep.
and I see her unconditional love for you. You are starting to reflect that to other people,
Oh yeah, bro.
right?
Like
I'm blessed with a wife that's that way. She
I've
loves me,
180'd.
right?
I've completely 180'd my whole life, and that's what I try to tell people. And people in the streets they kind of know. But like especially when I go teach, I'm like I wasn't always this nice, friendly, happy guy. You know what I'm saying? I was really pissed off for a lot of years, and I took my pain out on a lot of people, man. And so, um,
So you've learned to love better,
and protect myself.
and you've learned to protect yourself, and you've learned to forgive. Are there people in your life that have not forgiven you that you want forgiveness from?
Yes, yes.
How do you deal with that? Now, knowing that there are some people you can never get that forgiveness from because you can't engage with them for various reasons, whether it be family, friends. I mean, sometimes you cut ties. You cut ties. You can never go back to ask for forgiveness. How do you even think about it like that?
I do. So I have a hard relationship with my children. Uh, and I had to look at this from a very broad perspective because when I came into recovery, that was my reason. I wanted to get sober for my kid. Well, first off, again, I thought I was going to die. So I was wanting to say my goodbyes to everyone before I died. And I knew the only way anybody would hear me is if I was sober. So I got sober, didn't die, obviously. And so I was like, well, I'm going to rock with this sobriety thing and maybe my kids will come back into my life, you know? And for a couple years, we were talking. And then I got a phone call one day and it was just like, Dad, I need you to back up. I need you to go. I need you to not contact me anymore, please, for my health. And of course, I used that as a chance or a reason to go relapse. But ultimately, I had to look at it from the outside and all the toxicity involved in the relationship, and make the best choice for my kids, which was for me to step out. And so by doing that, I take that experience, right? That experience that we don't always get what we want in recovery, but I can use that experience to help someone else not go down that road.
You also have hope that giving your kids respecting their requests, giving them that space, and showing that you put in the work.
Yeah.
There's a hope, and we know your kids will come around.
Well,
At
we
least
hope
one or
so.
two of them, right? And
We hope
you
so.
hope so. And but that's something else that you can cling to.
Yeah.
Is you continue to work on yourself, do the work daily to be the best Sean can be.
Yeah.
And there's no end to what can happen.
Yeah. Even though it was a really bad situation, it strengthens my coaching.
Oh, absolutely.
Because and that's how I've taken every of these extreme things that I've been through, right? I can sit down and I can have those hard conversations with people that normal people can't. And I can even have those really crooked conversations with some people who've stepped down a very bad path, right? And they're like, I ain't telling nobody some of that stuff. And we can have those conversations and work through it.
You know, that's one of the things that I've noticed in my coaching and my mentoring of other people, of even people older than me, right? Those shared experiences bring and lend credibility
Yep.
to the hope that I show and demonstrate every day that's in
Yeah.
me, right? And you so poignantly point out times that I do things by myself,
Yeah.
right? Or I'm the only one doing the work for certain things. But that's okay with me. And I think it's okay with you because I see that in
No.
you. I don't necessarily need someone to handhold me.
No.
What I need is the autonomy and the self discipline and the belief in myself. And you pointed towards this, and I was kind of hoping that's where you'd go earlier. You said you do things every day. It's a small victory. So,
Right.
you bring in like Andy Frisella's Power List, right? It's a great example. I think you should probably take a clip from one of his and insert it here, right? I'm serious. Like,
Yeah.
take the Power List conversation because those tasks, that's how you win the day.
Right.
Right. You and I have had this conversation this week. That is really where I'm driving. I'm becoming task driven because not only is it necessary for success, it's a survival mechanism for me and my ADHD and other issues in my life, right?
Right.
And so if you have that task driven, that helps you create discipline and it helps you create self-belief.
Yes.
Because there's nothing worse than not loving and not forgiving yourself.
Yeah, bro. And you can't build any confidence in yourself if you're not doing nothing. You know, that's one of the things that I see a lot in treatment, especially like when I go speak to people, and it's always those people sitting in the back of the class who hair's all out of whack. They're in their flip flops and sweatpants, and you can literally tell they've done nothing all day. You know, and it's like, how do you expect anything to get better, bro? How do you expect to get anything? You know.
So do you, in the recovery setting, I know what I would do, right? Not in a recovery setting, but here in a coaching and mentoring capacity, I would tell them to get the frick over themselves.
Yeah. Well.
Right. And it's different because I have a different approach. I wouldn't say it exactly like that, but how do you handle that as an instructor and a coach in that environment with those people? Do you gear anything in your program directly to them?
So I don't call people out, you know, necessarily. Now, if they come ask me their opinion, or if like say their counselor or somebody wants me to
One caveat, real quick. I'm sorry to
go
interrupt, but
ahead.
one caveat, and I think where this is probably where you're going. It's better to do it one on one.
Right.
Never do it in a group. I would never do that in a group.
So I always try to show respect to wherever I'm at and to the person, right? So I don't call people out, and if I do have a one-on-one conversation, it's because either I'm asked to by them, or like I said, like their counselor or therapist or something like
Right.
that will say, "Hey, man, can you sit down and talk to him for a minute?" And usually, it's a good conversation. But really and truthfully, bro, I've lived a pretty raw life, man. And so for me to come down like a ton of bricks on somebody ain't my place.
Well, but there's a difference between doing it in love and compassion
Right.
because I'm hard on you, but
Yeah.
I don't talk down to you like you're trash,
Right.
right? I will give you a razzing that's completely different, right? Because we've built a rapport and a relationship. But you're right. You can't. You have the authority based on your experience to give them guidance, but not judgment.
It's like going to college, right? It's an option.
Yeah.
So when we make it an option where a person wants to be a part of that, they get a lot further. When we force it on them, say, no, you're going to do this, those are the people who roll their eyes and go to sleep and don't want to do nothing and be a part of the program and work anything, right? The more we try to control someone, the more we try to, you know, dictate their life to them, the more they rebel. So I try to just simply provide a space and be present in the moment. And when you're ready, you're ready. You know what I'm saying? And you can come talk to me. I'm open anytime. But I don't necessarily push myself on people because typically they reject that.
Sure. Well, and I think that's not just addicts. That's
No,
everybody,
it's everyone. It's
right?
everyone in general.